the other day I saw an ad, and it was an ad. I saw it was a Raspberry Pi, and they're like, have all of Wikipedia offline, only $200. And Wikipedia offline, that got my attention first. I'm like, that sounds dope. Then $200. I was like, that doesn't sound dope. That sounds bad. I'm not a fan of that. And so I got thinking, I have a Raspberry Pi. What if I could do it? Can I do it? Is it easy? And folks, it's been done. It is easy. There are many people that have done this. So today I'm going to show you, as someone who's not a professional in this, someone who knows the basics, that you can do it too. Because if I can do it, you can do it. I promise. I literally promise. So let's do it. All right, so let's jump into what supplies we're going to need for this project. There's really 3 physical things that are mandatory that you probably don't have already if you're new to Raspberry Pi, which is a Raspberry Pi. So you're going to need a Raspberry Pi, an SD card to hold your operating system and all the files, and you're going to need a piece of software. Yes, a piece of software that is a disk imager, so it's going to load the operating system onto that SD card. You can't really just drop it onto it. You have to do a whole thing with an application, but it's super easy, super straightforward. Do not get stressed. So let's jump over to the Raspberry Pi website. So you want to buy a Raspberry Pi first, right? So you're just going to go to hardware. And from here, you can choose the Raspberry Pi 5 or what I'm using today, which is the Raspberry Pi 4. The Pi 5 is the newest iteration, the newest member of the family, and it is awesome. The only quote unquote downside, which don't think too much about this right now, but I did want to say it in case people do know what they need for power reasons. The Pi 4 can run on 5 volt, 3 amp. The Pi 5 needs a slightly beefier power supply of 5 volts, 5 amps. So the reason that matters for me is, this is my little guy. I have it in this metal case here. I have Velcro on the bottom of mine, and I have a little battery that's basically the exact same size, and I just have it Velcro to the bottom. So that's how my computer kind of just functions. And so it's very handy, very easy. So I'd have to adapt a new power solution, which is easy enough, don't get me wrong, but I just wanted to let you know that. And if you're worried about price, you're like, well, is the Pi 5 way more expensive? No, it's actually only $5 more. Let's jump over here. So the Pi 4, which I have, I'm using an 8GB model, which is $75 right now. The Pi 5 8GB model, $80. Between the 4GB, $55, $60. So it's just a $5 difference across the board. That's insane because you get basically just this huge jump in performance. So definitely go with the Pi 5 if you're new to this and you don't have one yet. If you do have a Pi 4 laying around, that'll be just fine for this project. So in regards to our SD card, because we will need a micro SD card, what I'm using today is a 256GB. It's this one right here, the SanDisk Extreme Plus. I just had this on hand from filming stuff, so I was like, oh, this is perfect. I would suggest going with 256 or instead of like 128 or lower, because I want to have the version of Wikipedia that still has photos, and I think that's close to 100 gigs. Now, you could do the text-only Wikipedia, which I believe is around 60. So you could make it work with a smaller card, but I wanted the bigger card because I want to load this with the Gutenberg project, which has a bunch of books. But anyway, I want to have a library of classic books. I want to have Wikipedia, and I want to have any other tools that I think might be useful in a situation where I might find myself without internet access. So we have our Raspberry Pi, and we have our SD card. Next thing we do is we go to raspberrypi.com again, go to the homepage, and press Software. And right here, we have the Raspberry Pi Imager. Raspberry Pi Imager is the quick and easy way to install Raspberry Pi OS and other operating systems to a micro SD card, ready to use with your Raspberry Pi. And it is super easy to use. So I've already downloaded this like 3 times because I've restarted this video multiple times. But I'm going to do it again. I want you guys to be able to follow along and not be stressed if something pops up that, you know, could throw you for a loop, right? All right, so we've downloaded it, we accepted, and now we have our little pop-up here. First thing you want to do is just select your language. It has a few options, but English is ours, so we're going to go with that. We're going to press next. This is the license agreement. You can read it. You cannot. I don't, but that's me. Then you create a desktop shortcut, which we're going to go ahead and do. It installs. And boom, we're already ready to go. We just press finish. Awesome. Okay, so what's really cool about this imager is it already has everything we need to know right here. We just choose our device. We're using a 4. If you're using a 5, make sure to press that. But we're using a 4. So we press Raspberry Pi 4. We choose our operating system. And we're going to go with the recommended operating system. We're doing this the simplest way possible. What's cool is you can go here, and if you're more advanced, you're able to download the Raspberry Pi OS Lite, which doesn't give you a desktop environment. We want a desktop environment. We want this to be something that not only I can use, but everyone else that might need to borrow it can use too. So we're going to go ahead and press that, then choose our storage device. All right, so you want to be very careful here. If you see a bunch of options and you don't know which one is your SD card, once you've inserted your SD card, just remove it, see it go away, plug it back in, close the window, and wait for it to come back up on storage. There we go. That's the one we want to use, because as soon as we go through these next steps, it's going to fully wipe this card and get it ready to be basically our operating system. There we go. It rips away and starts writing the OS to the card. Now, once this is done, we only have a handful of steps left. This is an incredibly easy project and super fun to have around as well. Alrighty, once it has completed, you'll see the File Explorer pop up. I closed mine just because I had all my folders and stuff, and I'm paranoid. But here it is. It'll say Raspberry Pi OS has been written to, then it'll say your drive. You can now remove the SD from the reader. We're going to go ahead and do that. Then all we have to do is find the slot on our Raspberry Pi and put that card in there. And just like that, we're ready to boot up. All right, here we go. So it's doing its loading sequence. We have our HDMI cable plugged into one of the HDMI ports. There we go. And we have power going into it as well. So the first thing it's going to have us do is just get our Raspberry Pi set up. So I'm just getting my keyboard out here. So we're just going to go ahead and press next. We are going to choose our country. I am in the United States. American English, time zone, Chicago, Sweet Home Chicago. Use English language and use US keyboard. Then we're going to press next. So at first things might seem really small depending on the screen you have. We will go ahead and adjust our resolution once we're inside the little guy here. I also like to put my resolution lower than it offers just because it helps things run smoother. So like, for instance, it's going to start out at 4K. Username, we are going to just go ahead, call this our library. And then for our password, we want this to be used by everyone that we know. As you see, I just did 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, the next page I'm not going to show you because it's going to bring up Wi-Fi networks around me, and I'm going to connect to my Wi-Fi. Next, you're going to choose your default browser between Chromium and Firefox, and then it's going to ask you to update. And then it's going to bring us into the desktop. The entire update took me about 5 minutes for it to complete. Now, don't be stressed if the downloading updates part seems to freeze on you or slow down. This is just, sometimes it takes a little while to get through the setup phase, but patience will get you there usually. And by usually, I mean every time for me so far. All right, system is up to date. That took about 7 minutes. We're going to go ahead and press restart on the Pi now. Welcome to Raspberry Pi Desktop, powered by Raspberry Pi OS 64-bit. Okie dokie, we are in. I'll go ahead and move myself a little bit just so we can see the entire top bar there. And this is it. Now, I'll go ahead and show you the final steps. This is super easy. To start, even though we just updated, I always like to do Boop. Sudo apt update. I always run that command before going ahead with any extra downloads, even if I just downloaded Raspberry Pi. But let's go ahead and change this resolution, right? So we can see stuff a little better. Go to Preferences, and then down to Screen Configuration. And then we're going to go ahead and change this. We'll start with let's do 1080p. There we are. Okay, cool. So now things will be a little bit easier to read for us. Close that out. All right, and our final command is sudo. That stands for superuser-do, followed by apt, which is Advanced Packaging Tool, space install. We're telling it to install Kiwix -y. Kiwix is the program that we're able to install tons of these files and folders and books and Wikipedia from. So we're going to go ahead and press install. It is done, but there's one more thing that is a optional download, but it's one that I would strongly suggest. LibreOffice. This is basically a word processing tool, but it's nice to have something like this if you're going through articles or books to be able to just save some things that you know you might need to reference later or more often than other things. So we're going to do the sudo command again, apt install LibreOffice -writer. Make sure I spelt all this correct. -y. All right, fantastic. That is done. So now we can go ahead and close the terminal. Let's go ahead and open Kiwix. So this is our local files, and we have nothing installed right now. So what we're going to do is go by category. And then we can see here tons of different things to look through. Let's start with Wikipedia. Oh, I forgot to swap it over to all files. So right now we were on local files, which is why we were seeing nothing. And here we have it. We have Wikipedia right here, 102 gigabytes, and it does include pictures. This one right here, the 53 gigs, is our pictureless version, offline version of Wikipedia in English without photos. But we want to go with this guy here. So we're just going to go over to the right and press download. So as you can see, this is just an amazing resource with a plethora of options to download. Urban Prepper, that's cool. Emergency preparedness topics. Let's go ahead and download that. All right, so you might be asking, hey, you're using the 8 gigabyte model. Are we using too much RAM already for a 4 or even a 2 gigabyte model? Well, let's check. Let's take a look. Run this command, and we're going to take a look at our memory. And right here, we see that out of 7.6 gigabytes, we are using 714 megabytes. These are just the binary conversions of, gigabytes and megabytes. But we can see here that we still have 6.9 gigabytes available. Even if we converted this back to gigabytes and megabytes, we still haven't even used a full gig of RAM. So in theory, at this point, you would still be fine with a 2 gigabyte model, and you would have tons of headroom on the 4 gig. All right, here we are. So we have all these things downloaded. This is what we have on our Raspberry Pi offline. We have Wikipedia. We have content from the Urban Prepper, which I didn't know what that was. I just saw Urban Prepper. I was like, oh, that'd probably be good to have. And it actually looks like a YouTuber. Know nothing about their content, but this is super cool that this is available. I hope that they made it available. I feel like they did with the topic of which they cover. And then Project Gutenberg Library. Now this is really cool. Let's start with that because that was our bonus option, right? You don't have to download this. This is just what I wanted. And here we have it. It's all classics. It looks most of these, I believe, are, if not all of them, should be in the public domain. Wow, so cool. The complete works of Shakespeare, Alice in Wonderland, The Odyssey, Pride and Prejudice. So you press right here to the right. That's the 5. Looks like a 5 to me, at least. And here we go. It's a fully... Wait, that is so cool. So there we have it. The library, it works. Heck yeah. All right, so whenever you're done with something, you can either press back or you can just close it and it'll bring you right back to your Kiwix. All right, now we're going to go ahead. I can move myself down here. and open Wikipedia. Oh, so cool. All right, so now that we're in here, let us see if we can search. So we're working on Raspberry Pi stuff, right? You know what? No. Let's look up water purification. Oh, there we go. Water purification. Wait, this is so cool. This article is about treatment of natural water sources, mainly. For treatment of wastewater, see wastewater treatment. Okay. This is so cool. Down here, we can see other water purification techniques, thermal, adsorption, distillation, reverse osmosis. Oh, so this is so cool. So we could click on distillation, right? And here it gives us a little diagram of how it works, which is really fun, really cool. All right, let's do something else. Raspberry Pi. There we are. Oh, wait, this is so fantastic. And just like that, we have all of Wikipedia. We have the Gutenberg library, which just has an insane amount of books, just a few minutes of work, and we have all of this just ready to access. The Wikipedia part is probably the coolest. Just a offline full Wikipedia website. That's so cool. All right, and the last thing that we had downloaded that I just wanted to show you is our writer. This is LibreOffice Writer. And I think this is just a fantastic addition because once again, maybe you want to be able to take notes on things that you are reading from the Wikipedia or from the books even. You're taking notes on some of the books here. Just having a word processor on hand, it feels like a waste not to have. All right, it has been a week since we built the WikiPi, and I want to show you how I have this set up. So we have the screen, little tripod, the Pi, and our battery. And the battery actually is able to power the screen and the Pi at the same time. And we get about 4 hours of uninterrupted runtime. I'm really happy with that because this battery can charge at 5 volts, and the Harbor Freight 9-watt solar charger can do 5 volts, 1.5 amps. So we know that we could power this using that little solar charger if we needed to. And that is more than I can say about any laptop I have. I think the lowest power laptop I have for input charge is like 65 watts. I'm not sure what voltage to amperage that is. But anyway, I can't charge any of my laptops with that thing, but I can charge this. And that is super cool to know, super useful. What I've been using this for, obviously not Wikipedia because the earth and world hasn't ceased to function in 1 week. Typing. I've been just bringing this around to random places in my house where I just leave my phone in a different room and just set up and write for an hour or so here or there. And it's been super fun to use. What I'm using to power the screen is a step-up converter. I believe this is 5 volt to 12 volt. And the input voltage listed on the screen here for AC adapters, it says 8 to 18 volts. So should be safe. Don't fully quote me on that. It's been working so far. But anyway, have a great day, noon, night, whatever time it is, wherever you are. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.